Want more podcast fandom in your ear holes? Of course you do. And so it's a good thing for you that we are back beginning all new coverage of some of your favorite shows. And you can still head over to patreon.com/podcastfandom to become a premium subscriber for access to our coverage of shows like Westworld, WandaVision, Loki, Attack on Titan, The Legend of Korra, and more. Also, if you are on Clubhouse, look up our club, Podcast Fandom, where we talk about shows like The Walking Dead and WandaVision. It's so much fun because you guys get to listen live as we discuss TV shows and then come up on stage to ask your questions and share your thoughts. It's a lot of fun. Oh, and we also host game nights there. So make sure you join and follow us. And now, get into this free shit. Hey guys, welcome to Podcast Fandom, the official podcast for ProjectFandom.com. I'm your host, Nina.
I'm Sarah.
And I clearly forgot why we were here today. I'm on a roll.
What are we doing?
I don't know. I didn't call you when I was supposed to. We're lucky I have notes. But yes, we both have notes. And we're going to be talking about the final 2 episodes of the first season of Shadow and Bone. I know the title to episode 7, The Unsee. I do not know the title to episode 8.
No Mourners.
I didn't know that and forgot it. Yes, No Mourners. So I watched these episodes. I watched them last week, like shortly after we recorded for this.
Right.
Which is always a good sign. Shortly after we recorded last week's 2 episodes. And that's always a good sign if you guys are, podcast listeners, and you're like, God, I hope they don't drop a show, because we have been known to drop some duds. But when you hear me talk about, like, I cannot wait to watch the next episode, like, after, on a podcast, that's a pretty good, like, I'm really enjoying the show, and I'm looking forward to talking about it. If I decide to watch an episode after we record and, we don't plan on recording again for another week, I really like the show, because that means I understand I have to watch the episodes twice. Like, I watch it right away because I want to know what happens and I enjoy it, but I know I'm going to have to watch it again and take notes, and I'm okay with that. So that should let you know how much I have enjoyed this series, because I have enjoyed it a lot.
Yay.
And I was a little shitty about some of the shit in this finale, which, I will give my honest opinion on that.
Yes. Sure.
However, this was a pretty solid, I think, 8-episode start. I think there's a lot of promise, a lot of, having not read the books, I know you have, but like, there's a lot of promise. I found myself really excited for what's to come with characters that we didn't even spend a lot of time with, like Nina and Matthias. Like, I'm all curious to know where that's going to go,
Yeah.
So, but how did you like these episodes?
Yeah, these 2 episodes, the last 2, as I mentioned, were my favorites. And that's mostly because of how positive everything is and how you kind of get to enjoy the whole, the heist and, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, these 2 episodes are really, I don't know, they're like a lesson in living with a narcissist,
Oh my God.
And
right.
A little bit triggering as somebody who, has that going on in family relationships, and, the way that he spirals around and undercuts her and builds her back up and takes it back under, and all that kind of stuff is just, woo. It is truly a masterclass.
Yes. And I was going to say, I typically, like,
I don't know. Oh, sorry, I meant to turn off my AC because it feels loud, and I turned off the light instead. It typically feels like, well, I don't think that I pick up on stuff like that
Hmm.
unless, I don't know. I typically think that I don't like pick up on stuff like that, and I'm glad that you said that. Like you have personal experience with these types of personalities. It can be triggering, and you recognize it. I'm getting better at picking out stuff like this, and distinct. In particular, in this episode, there was a bit of dialogue that he said that in the end of the seventh episode, that
Hmm.
I was like, oh my God, you are a fucking evil child. You are
Right?
so. He was like, well, fine. What does he say? I will be the
Make me your
villain.
villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want me to be, or some shit. And I was
Right.
like,
Right.
way to not take any fucking responsibility for anything. Like, you,
Right.
oh,
I'm
fuck
not
off.
making you the villain, bro. You
Right.
are the villain.
And unlike me, you have options, right?
Right.
Like you
Right.
have a considerable amount of power and influence, clearly, right? You don't have to make me do things. We can do things together.
Right.
Like she knows that the Grisha aren't treated, right either.
Sure.
Like she
Hmm.
sees the many problems going on across the country, and you guys could fix it. He has a choice. He wants to
Right.
do it this way. But
Right.
instead of being like, "This is what I choose," he's like, "Fine, make me your villain." I'm like, "Nah,
Right.
you did that when you killed a bunch of people and have continued for centuries, dude. My dude, you
Right.
have been going around for centuries being the worst, and not
And it's
once did
so
you try to be
ironic when
better."
right. It's so ironic when he brings up a point later, saying, I've got nothing but time and I've got all this patience. And
Right.
like, and she points out that, like, if you had just waited, we could
Mhm.
have gotten here
Mhm.
without you putting me in this position, but
Mhm.
you didn't.
Mm-mm.
And now here we are.
And here we are. Little, ugh. All right, so let's talk about them. I will say, did not really enjoy 7 as much as I enjoyed 8.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you don't really, well, for me anyway, I find that I don't realize that, like, the first go through. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
because it's good, it's not bad, but definitely. Everything picks up and kicks off really in the final episode, and it wasn't until rewatching for notes as I'm going through my notes and trying to remember like what's gonna happen if I can make more concise notes. And I'm like, wow, not a lot happened in this one, and I was a bit taken aback to see that the 7 ended when they were just going into the fold. Like, I don't know, I just kind of
Hmm.
remembered a lot more action, but again, that's what happens when you watch them like a movie,
Right.
basically. Yeah. So it wasn't
Exactly.
until I had to separate my notes that I realized, okay, yeah, 7 didn't have a lot of action, but I
It's
still
just a
enjoyed it.
lot of setup.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of setup. Okay, so we do get a flashback to pre-fold creation.
Hmm.
That kicks off episode 7, the Unsee. And my notes I have back in the day, because I don't know when this was supposed to be, so I just put once upon a time.
Once upon a time, Alexander's hair was terrible and curly.
Oh my God. And he was just like, and okay, wait, we got to talk about the girlfriend, Luda,
Yes.
played
Luda.
by
Uh-huh.
Lucy Griffins, I think her name is. I had to look her up because this is an actress who, whenever I see her, like, it's the same thing every fucking time. I'm always like, wow, she's pretty. Wow, she looks really familiar. I know her from something. I can't place it. Then I go to IMDb and I'm like, oh yeah, it's her. But like, I never remember her name. Like, I'll do this again. 3 years from now, she'll be in something else we're podcasting, and I'll be like, yeah, that's the girl from
Who
the.
is this? Yes.
Yeah, but what I remember her, and even like when I was going through IMDb earlier, I was like, God, it feels like I've seen her in a lot more than I have,
Hmm.
because I just feel like this happens every time I do see her. But she was Nora in True Blood, which is like the first thing
Hmm.
I saw her in. And
Sure.
do you remember, like, I don't remember a lot about her. She was kidnapped, right? Did you watch True Blood?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think she was like the daughter of some politician that was like pushing some like anti-vampire legislation stuff. And I think
Hmm.
Eric kidnapped her. Eric and who was his like female partner? The country
Pam.
Pam. And then I think he ends up turning her like in a grave, and it's super like sexual. And she has like a white
Oh
nightgown on.
yeah.
Do you remember that?
Hmm.
Like that's like the key thing I remember from her. And I think she ends up being like, she was on the show for a while, I think, after that. But like
Hmm.
she started like a victim, you know what I mean? Kind of like
Right.
the other girl too.
Yeah.
The one
She ends up
Daredevil.
catching that virus and dying.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So there was that. But then do you remember when she was cast in Constantine and there was like something happened where she's in the pilot, I think, and then you know how like the networks will see the pilot and
Oh
they'll be like, "We
right.
want some
Yeah.
changes." And they recast her, and I'm trying to remember like what the deal was with that. I feel like there
Hmm.
was just a like they just didn't like her for some reason.
Yeah, I think they cast several different
Oh,
people.
did they?
They recast several different people after the pilot, I think.
Uh, so there was that, and then of course, she was on Preacher, and I completely forgot she was. I think she was like the girl who had a crush on Preacher, and I think she's like a single mom or something like that. And she ends up dying when the whole town goes to hell or something
Oh,
in the first season.
I only
Anyway,
saw a few episodes of that,
oh,
so I
okay.
don't know.
So that's who she is. And I was a little surprised that as it stands right now, it's such a small part, right? Because on the
Hmm.
surface, like she's gone, right? But
Right.
anyway, that's his girlfriend. She was a healer, and this is right when whoever the current king was well, from this point of view, it felt like what she was saying, or like the impression that you're getting is that the king, the monarchy, has turned on the Grisha, and they're being round up, and um, I think she makes mention that some Grisha have already fled to hide, and is that where he ends up going after they kill her, where his mother is, right? And that like
Yeah.
right, and so you're thinking, oh yeah, kings, they're just the worst. But
Right.
like later when he talks to his mom is like, yeah, I taught you how to do other stuff. Like I'm assuming, like he says, you taught me how to kill. So I'm assuming like that blade cut thing that he does.
Hmm.
She was like, yeah, but I taught you how to do that for yourself, like to protect yourself, not to protect them. Like I'm guessing she
Right.
means like non-Grecian, and you see like your ambition is why he's afraid of you and he's hunting you and all of us. And so I know they kind of talked about this before we knew it was him, when they were talking about the legend of the Black Heretic and all that, and it was like the king feeling like he was amassing too much power, but they haven't really, I don't know exactly what he has done, what he did
Yeah.
to I don't, maybe I missed something. Have they been clear in the show exactly why the king at that time turned on him? Or
No, I
wait a
think it
minute,
was
is this
just yeah.
supposed to be, I'm sorry, one quick thing. Is this also supposed to, this just hit me. This isn't like, he's already been around a while at this point, right?
Right. Right.
Because the girlfriend starts saying, well, if I get a anchor or whatever,
Hmm.
right?
Amplifier.
Amplifier, I can live maybe like 100 years. He's like, that's cute. You think that's a long time.
Right. Yeah. They imply that he's already been around a while.
Okay, so this isn't the first king that it may be, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just the first time that it got to this violent
Right.
that he ends up doing what he does. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I think he's just supposed to be kind of similar in a similar position, that he was an advisor and this king started feeling threatened, by him
Mm-hmm.
being second in power or whatever.
Because it feels like, I mean, and we talked about this throughout the season, that it, like, they don't really feel like non-Grisha. Definitely, I mean, we know the, what Matthias is. Matthias, what is
Hmm.
he? The Druskella, those
Right.
people. Like, we definitely know about them, but it even feels like these people, like the king and this something, like, they don't really seem to regard Grisha that well anyway. Like, it does feel like
Yeah.
servants in a way. If,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
either they think of them as witches or
hmm
just as something they can use.
yeah, like tools, if that makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
you know, Okay, so yeah, they're starting to attack him, but the girlfriend, Luda, is in the house that they don't know she's in there in the cabin or whatever, and she is healing him
Yeah.
as he's getting hit with arrows so he's able to withstand it and kind of resist, and but then they grip her up. Like one of them finds her.
Yeah.
And despite
I
pleading,
guess she's got to be like within eyesight of him. So,
okay, yeah,
that's
that
kind
makes
of how
sense.
yeah.
But they end up killing her, and then he kills all of them and rushes to where the other Grisha have kind of holed up. And I love this because like he comes riding up with her on a horse, and he's like, "Healer, is there a healer?" And the the black girl's like, "No, we only have a tailor. We've been waiting for Luda." And then he puts dead Luda on the fucking bed, and she's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Her face was like,
It was totally like
"Oh,
that.
yes, I see now." Oh my god. And so she dies.
Yeah.
And he goes to his mom, and his mom is like, "I told you." Leave them girls
Right.
alone. She's a little, I like this character because, there was she came off obviously like rough, and it was like, but then it was like, okay, she's pushing Alina, to fulfill her
Mhm.
potential. But then you realize she's his mom, but then it's also like, oh, but she's also helping her escape. So it's like this back and forth with the kind of person she is. But like
Right.
here, I mean, she a little ate shit too, because she's like,
She is.
they're not strong like us. I told you. Like, it's always going to be this way. Like, there's always going to be girls, and they're always going to die because they're weak. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, their relationship, I mean, people do end up, can be toxic on their own without
Mhm.
help.
Yeah.
But it's clear that their relationship is toxic as
Yes.
well,
Yes.
especially with their little well-established squabbles. And you can see, like, how many times has they been through this? Because she says, "Well, they always die, you big idiot."
Right. And they're so
Here
powerful
we're
because
on
of,
like number 5 that this happening, at
right,
least.
right. And they're so powerful and able to live as long as they are because of the particular bloodline, right? Like they are relatives. Like where they
Right.
come from, because when she did the magic that he does, when she was telling Alina to leave, Alina realized that they were related because of that. Because of the
Right.
shadow manipulation
And I
stuff,
think
right?
it's interesting in this scene where Bagra is, let's say, sickly,
Yeah, I was going to ask
because
about that. Yeah.
yes, that to me that implies that she has not been using her powers,
Right.
because that's why, in the books, that's why Alina originally is so sickly and skinny and whatever, because she's been suppressing her powers. So Bagra has been in hiding,
Right.
not using her powers, whereas Alexander has been.
Out there thriving with a girlfriend,
Mhm.
causing trouble. So they arrive to apprehend him, and they interrupted him doing something, right? Because he was starting to do that whole not small science shit. Like she was like, it's too dangerous. And he was like reading from a book or something when they rolled up.
Right. She mentions that, I think he mentions Morozova, who
Mhm.
was the guy that we saw, the priest in the book, that pointed out that he was the one who was the bone,
Mm.
whatever,
Right.
bonesmith.
Right.
And so he had this whole theory about melding animals to the body and whatever.
Mhm.
So they are descendants of Morozova. So he says, we have his studies, so I'm going to go look at his notes. So
Got
he's
it.
like muttering the notes to himself, and the
Okay.
little black veins start creeping up,
Creeping up.
and then
Yeah.
here they come.
And she says something like, he feeds off us or something like that. Remember when she's trying to warn
Right.
him against it, and she says that, like that name that you
Yep.
just said.
Yeah, she
Something like-
says, don't use Merzost, which is the forbidden magic,
Uh-huh.
because that feeds off of us. As long as we stay in the small sciences, we can
Right.
live a long life and forever and whatever. But once you cross over into this black magic,
Yeah. And he don't listen.
So-
He go out there and show his
No.
whole black magic ass. And
He does.
creates the full. He's like, you'll be my army. And then it is absolutely like watching, like, Like, if you ever taught like a teenager to drive and you try to tell them like you do not have to press too hard, like a little bit will go a long way
Right.
with the gas thing. And
Right.
it's like they don't that for it's like lurch and it's like, see, you gotta learn how to drive this car. It's not just the mechanics of it, but cars, it's like that. Like he
Right.
just tried to like fucking roll a Ferrari for the first time.
Like you were just trying to read the directions on
Right.
how to drive this Ferrari off of a post-it note
Right.
2 minutes ago.
Right. Like settle down, dude. Look what you did. And
Like
and
the memes that come from this too, when he screams "submit to me," the memes from
I
this were
haven't seen
just
any.
so good.
I have to
The
catch
people were
up.
like, yeah, the people were like, the feminism that left my body when he's out here screaming "submit to me."
I love it. He yeah, I was avoiding social media except for like I was live tweeting it, watching it, so I was tagging it and some stuff. And I just so happened to come across the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it just so happened like that same day. That's what it was. The actress who plays Alina, her name was trending. And
Mhm.
I didn't like remember that that's her name. It was like Jessie Mai or Jessie May.
Jessie May Lee.
May Lee. Yeah. So I think like May Lee was trending, and I was like, oh, what's this about? Not just totally forgetting that it was her name. I just
Sure.
clicked it, and then I saw like a lot of stuff about Shadow and Boat, and I was like, oh, that's right, that's right. And then what I was able to piece together apparently was that, I guess the stunt double for Inez's character, real life stunt
Yeah.
double, is white, but Inez is Asian, right? And
Mhm.
brown skin,
Right.
Asian, and noticeably brown skin. And they had to darken her stunt double to match the shots.
Right.
And so I
Right.
guess they posed for a photo, and it's just, and I guess Jessie went on her Instagram to address it because, and I mean, and as you can imagine, there's probably a lot of Asian fandom for both actresses
Sure.
to support them,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And when you have, and I think the report said Asians make up less than 6% of the leading roles in Hollywood.
Mm.
So if you take those numbers into account, you understand why the representation is important, right? To the
Right.
people who are craving that, right? So can you just
Absolutely.
imagine being this, I mean, as a black woman, I know this, but like, I forget that it doesn't just affect, black people. And so you have this brown skinned Asian woman posing with her white stunt double and brown skinned Asian
Right.
girls being like, this is fucked up. Really? We couldn't have did better
Mhm.
than this. Then you have the lighter presenting Asian girl who's not even involved in this, by the way. Like,
Right.
post to her Instagram like 4 pages of explaining to these other girls why it's not okay, but it kind of is, and what were we supposed to do, and
Mhm.
everyone's heart is in the right place. Everyone works really hard, and I was like, ma'am, if you don't shut up, because this is not the way. This is so not fucking it. She literally explained away that brown face and was like, also, it's hard to find women of color stunt doubles. And I'm like, and my friend, our friend, Rebecca pointed out,
Mhm.
India has Bollywood.
Right.
Y'all
There's
couldn't have
plenty
found.
of stunt doubles there. Yeah.
Thank you. You could have just flown in wherever they were filming. She was like, there's not a lot of brown people. Well, okay. See, that's part of the world problem anyway. But aside from that, y'all act like planes aren't, like y'all could, if you
Right.
want to
You
not,
guys flew in.
right? Y'all live there? And so it's just so crazy to me that another, but see, that's the danger with, and I'm not going to get too political, but that's part of the, when we talk about proximity to whiteness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to me though that this Asian, and I think Jessie, is she biracial? Is one of
Yeah.
her parents white? So it's like, sis, come on. It's just different. And I know people don't like to admit it, but it absolutely is. It is
Right.
absolutely different the browner you are on the spectrum of being a person of color, you know? And that's
Right.
just so disappointing. And for her to sit there and put that cape on and just be like, it's so hard. Sweetheart, it's Netflix.
Yeah.
They could have
Right.
hired a brown, an Asian stunt double for the character of Inej. They
Yeah.
absolutely could have. And look, they had a black guy doing the stunts for Anthony Mackie, remember, in Winter Falcon
Right.
TV show, and we could tell that it wasn't him, and we just clowned it and kept it moving. Like, nobody cares, but we
Right.
care if you're trying to be sneaky. We care
Yeah.
if you're being insulting and making people's skin makeup. You can't do that. And so for her, I don't know how that all played out.
Yeah.
I was just tired of the drama, but I was really disappointed in that.
Yeah, it's disappointing on Netflix's part as well, because
Hmm.
part of the reason that this came up with the actress, why she felt compelled to say something, was that keep putting the actors out front in these live chats. They were hosting Zoom chats with hundreds of fans at a
Hmm.
time that you could buy a ticket to, and then, hopefully
Okay.
get to ask your favorite stars a question.
Hmm.
And so it got to this fever pitch where every time one of the two girls was on the screen, or the author was on the screen, who's also a woman,
Hmm.
and not so much with the guys, somebody was saying, so what's the deal with this brown face with the actors, with the stunt double?
Oh my
And
God.
they would post something, and on Instagram, I'm following a bunch of their accounts, and they would post a new picture, and 500 people would comment, what's the deal with the brown face stunt double? And so they're feeling like cornered,
Right.
and they keep getting put out front, and Netflix keeps putting these live chats out, and no one from Netflix has said
Stepped in to
anything about
right,
it.
and it's their
Right.
responsibility. Their
It is, because
yeah,
they're the ones that
right,
hired,
right.
and these are relatively new
I was just
actors.
gonna say that too. Yeah.
They're trying not to lose their job, I
Mhm.
imagine, but
Mhm.
also trying not to lose fans, and who could not agree with the point that, that appropriate stunt doubles should be hired. It's a terrible position for everybody to be in, and Netflix needs to step in. They still haven't said anything, which is terrible. Did I lose you? I can't hear you.
Oh my God! This whole
There
time
you
I've
are.
been talking and it's muted. Ugh.
Oh no.
Today is the worst. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's
Okay, so
cursed.
I
Everyone's
was saying
reversed
that.
yeah.
I was saying that I hadn't seen how it all ended, and I didn't realize that they hadn't. That it's still basically the same situation. Like, Netflix hasn't
Right.
said anything, so that
It's just
sucks.
hanging out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
And then I was saying how we saw the fold created. It was terrifying, and I was going to move on in the notes, and I reminded you, but you couldn't hear me, that if I skip over anything you want to talk about of any significance, feel free to be like, oh wait, back up, let's talk about this, okay?
Oh, okay.
Because
All
these
right.
notes, my notes for this episode are super, super general. I feel like I got way more detailed in the next one. This one, I was just like, okay, this happened. This conversation
Right.
happened, right?
Right.
Kaz is ready to go home.
Yeah.
That's what my notes
Like,
say.
we have lost
Yeah.
about all we can lose at this point.
Yeah, we're ready to go home. And I think what he decides is that they're going to sneak aboard basically the way they got here. The way they got
Right.
into the little palace
They're
is the
just
way
gonna
they're
take it
going to go
back.
home. Right.
Yeah.
And oh, but wait, that comes after, because I was so confused on the scene with them on the ground when she calls him, when Inez calls him Jess.
Yes.
And they're looking at something and it blows up. Were they trying to go back the way they came?
That was the train. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And it blew up because of where it was, right? Because of the mines and
The
stuff?
the
Or
soldiers had found it.
Oh, there were soldiers
Yeah.
over there. Okay. I was like,
Right.
what
While
are
they're
they?
laying there talking, you can see kind of soldiers yelling off to the side, and that's why they're hiding. And he's like, I
Ah,
counted all the things and I know where we are. She's trying to give him an out. And he's like, no, no, I got this. And then it
right.
blows up, and they're like, welp.
Yes. Okay. Um, Mal and Alina find the stag, right? And um, she's gonna kill it, but then she's like, I don't. This doesn't feel right. Like I'm gonna try
Right.
something else. So she gets a bit
Right.
closer to it, but then Dickface arrives.
Yes. She says, maybe there's another way. And when she touches the stag, it's so beautiful.
Hmm.
Like he's looking at her, he's letting her touch him, and the light and everything. And then
Here comes
here
Dickface.
comes Ivan.
And I'm so disappointed in both of them, honestly. And then his
Right?
husband
Right?
and David. Like all the men in this show so far have been trash except Mal.
Oh my God. To me, now here's my theory. Here's my psychological theory of two children, three children, actually. Zoya, now this doesn't necessarily work with Zoya because she also slept with the Darkling, but follow me, anyway.
Okay, okay.
Three children, one is like super, he's got issues. That's David.
Hmm.
So he keeps doing what he's been told,
Hmm.
but he is super ashamed
Right,
and just is like folds in on himself.
right.
Zoya has a life outside of the Darkling. She
Hmm.
mentions later that her
Yep.
family is, on the other side. So she's starting to see the light.
Yeah.
And,
Hmm.
whereas Ivan, his whole life revolves around the Darkling. He's strong. He's been given a kind of power. He's
Yep.
participated in the abuse over the years that
Yep.
the Darkling has perpetuated, and even his husband works for the Darkling. So
Yeah.
he, is like, you should be grateful. Like we should all be
Yeah,
grateful,
when he was like
for
everything he gave
right,
you and don't forget your place or
right,
something. I was like, what? But you know
yeah.
what? That's how he was when we met his ass. So
He was, and he does not change. You keep hoping for him to
yes,
change, and he doesn't.
you get seduced by his husband is what it is.
It is true.
And you're like, there has to be something to him because this guy is
Edgar
with him.
loves him.
Yeah. But then he turns out to be a dick too later.
Right.
So
Yep.
I was just like, all of these people are terrible. The only one, Genya. How do you say it?
Jenya, yeah.
Genya. Yes. I really love that scene. But okay, we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
But then all right. Are we sure Mal isn't special? How many times has he been fucking shot and stabbed and beaten and like,
He's been shot so many fucking times.
oh my God. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And like every injury is like not enough to kill him instantly, which I
Right.
don't get. Like he's so fucking
Yeah.
lucky at that. But like
He's shot.
I feel like this episode, and then of course at the end, there's always him laying there bleeding out, reaching for something. I'm so tired.
Every time. Yes.
Alina puts up a protective, uses her powers to put like a protective dome over her and the stag, but she can't, hold it forever. She can't heal them. It's just like a temporary thing. And Mal is still outside of it, right? And the Darkling is like, look, you're going to have to make a choice. But if you give me the stag, I'll let my healer help Mal, which is what she eventually does.
I think Mal is on the inside because he tries to pass her the
Oh!
knife so she can slit the.
Oh, right, you're
thing's
right.
throat.
I was going to ask you that because, like,
Yeah.
when I was looking at it earlier and I'm like writing and looking up, I was like, I thought he was inside. But then there was one part where he's like crawling to her and I'm like, that makes no sense. Like, they should try to stop him before he gets inside. But then you're right. I forgot because he was like, kill it. Here's the knife,
Right.
do it. And she's like,
Take
I
it
don't know.
now.
And the fucking stag is like, what? Like, I asked y'all to come here. Like, I called you. Then
The
you hear
poor thing
like,
is just
what are we talking about? Me?
moaning in the background. Right? Kill me? Like what?
Like, didn't you hear her say there's another way? Shit, help me.
I should have called a healer.
Right. Oh my God. But yeah, she ends up giving up to save Mal, of course, and they kill the stag.
Yeah. This is so savage that I feel like Kerrigan in this scene, every part of it is the most extra. Like, he
Oh
has
my God.
definitely decided to be the worst part of himself. He like sins in the shadows first.
Mm-hmm.
Before he walks in, he's got his whole thing flapping behind him, the cape, he's just whipping around, he's just really being over the top. You're like, you can just walk. You
Yeah.
could walk.
Well, wait. We
No.
get this from like later when he's like, "Oh, I have to give that speech again." He admits it that he's a little diva.
He's been practicing.
For
And then
centuries,
but
he's
then
been practicing that speech.
Right. In the mirror, probably, if he can see himself in the mirror. I don't even know. And, and then he does the cut, and that is just so disgusting because it like cuts across the antlers,
Yeah,
and it
it's
leaves
just-
this huge like divot in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like got the crazy eyes. Like, when he leaves the scene,
Mhm.
he's got crazy eyes.
He's
They're
like
definitely there.
he is. When I think I told you, there's all these articles like, "Why are women so attracted to the dark light?" It's like, why are you being stupid? You know why we're attracted to the
Use
dark
your eyes.
Like we all don't have somebody like this in our past. Stop, okay? Pretty ones get away with all the shit, okay?
Count the way it is counted.
Until they don't. You just got to get
Right.
get sick of the shit. And if you were
And
lucky enough to not go through a period where you didn't fall for the shit, good for you. But most of us did, okay?
You're lying.
Right? Oh.
Stop lying to yourself.
Okay, so Inez is saying goodbye, right? When she thinks they're gonna, this is before my notes, I did skip ahead and talk about the thing blowing up. But at first she's gonna say goodbye, and she's like, is that it? Like, that's all you have to say? But, he's a man. So eventually Kaz is like, but wait, you were right. And
About the sun summoner.
But you see, like, I love this though, because when he's like, you were right, she stops and she's like happy for a second because he stopped
Right.
her. But then she realizes he didn't say I love you or please. He just said something ambiguous, and now I have to deal with this shit again. And I love how she like squares her shoulders to turn around and be like, right about what,
go.
you man-child who can't talk about your feelings.
Now, right. She has to drag out of him what she was right about. And then it's only on the most minor terms
Yes.
that he allows for this win.
Yes, he's
It's
like,
just
well,
so-
her power is real. Because he knows he loses nothing by admitting that the power is real because, But he's like,
Right.
but she's no saint. And she's like, well, what the fuck do you believe in? And he's like, I believe in us. But not that romantic, basically. Kind of that romantic.
Kind of.
Kind of. He believes in her and Jess, his crows.
Right.
And
And then he gives her the line,
Wait, which one?
no saint ever watched over me, not like you have.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that. When are they gonna fuck? I'm just kidding.
Eyes. Probably never.
Probably. I forgot. I'm watching some YA shit. What are you doing to me?
Okay, sorry.
And then I have in my notes here, they lose the train, right? And that's what I have in my, I'm like, did they lose the train? Because I wasn't sure that's what was going on. And because,
Yes.
he says something like, Arkin and I think alike or some shit like that. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I think that's the train. And then the thing blew up and I'm like, okay, I think it's the mines, but I wasn't quite sure the mechanics there. All right. I have here in my notes, Alina gets a shock collar. This is terrible.
Oh my God.
I was so annoyed at this. Really, I don't know why. Well, I know. I mean,
It's terrible.
It's terrible. They gave this girl horns in her fucking collarbone.
This whole scene is just, there's only men in the room. I think that's important.
This is so.
And, it's not like that. In the books, David is the only person who can, like, this is a necklace in the books.
Oh, okay.
And David makes the clasps to bring the horns together in a way that obviously that you can wear horns and not stab yourself every time you
Right.
turn your head.
Gotcha.
And, and that's the magic. And that when he puts them around her neck, when the Darkling puts them around her neck, because he's the one that clasps it, then he's in control,
Of the
quote,
power.
quote.
Okay, got it.
Right. and then once you put on something like this, it can't be removed. So that's the horror. But they definitely went for a bigger body horror
Mm-hmm.
slash, assault kind of
Yeah.
scene
Yeah.
where this is extremely violating
Yes. I
and,
did not like this. I did. It was
it
just,
was it was awful.
yeah, it really was. And I like that they had her like appropriately like horrified by it and embarrassed by it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You
yes,
notice
it's
when
embarrassing.
they're dragging her to the tent and she sees Mal and
Mhm.
he's being dragged off and she's like trying to get to him, she's still careful to keep that blanket
Right,
covering the horn. Like she didn't want him to see it. And I did like that.
right.
Cuz they could have
Yeah.
easily just had her not think about it and or not be able, you know what I mean? Like, but the fact that even in that moment she was still conscious of it and not wanting him to see it. Now, it could be something like they wanted a bigger reveal the first time Mal sees that she has fucking horns now.
Mhm.
But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because it did feel like even when she went inside and she looked at it good for the first time, like covering, I like the fact that she seems, appropriately appalled and repulsed by this.
Right. I do think that they are playing it, for shame.
Good.
So, I
Yeah.
think that she was definitely trying to hide it because she's embarrassed by it.
Mm-hmm. Um, Alina confronts Jenya.
Yes.
Look, I really like this because I feel like if I have any criticism, and not, I mean, yeah, I guess of the show, but we talked about this before, where I really kind of want them to do away with some of the tropes in these female leads where they're
Mhm.
so naive and so
Right.
gullible and so, and
Mhm.
just so slow to kind of pick up on stuff. Like I would I would like for them to stop doing that. But this scene with her when she's like I did what I had to do.
Yeah.
And when she's like, what he did to you was awful, but you don't have to. So, and he's also using you. And I was like, you are so fucking out of pocket. And this is what
Right.
comes with having this type of character. Do you know?
Yeah.
You get stuff like the actress trying to defend brownface. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you don't know no better. So you're just being kind of young and
Yeah.
dumb about it. And in the
Mhm.
process, you're being incredibly offensive. And so that's what I
Yeah.
felt like I was getting in this scene where she's just she's horrified. She understands, but she still feels like, oh, there had to be another way. And it's a very, like when this girl was like, I used to, and it takes her a while just to say, I used to fight. Well,
Right.
like, come on. Like this he's
Yeah.
clearly still trying for her to be like to make it seem like it was like a petty, and then yeah, she's right. You're victimized twice by two men, but the difference is this one is telling you there is a chance for revenge. This one is telling
Right.
you, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's telling you he's on your side, and that's purposeful as well. He didn't give a fuck that guy
Yes.
was raping you. Yeah, but she's in the
No.
middle of it and she doesn't see it, so she's about survival. So I don't know. I just felt like Alina was so young and dumb here and it was offensive.
Yeah, this is, her first experience, I guess, with being a victim in this way, whereas
Mhm.
Virginia has been being victimized openly by the king, in front of the queen, by the
Mhm.
queen,
Mhm.
for a decade at least,
Right.
probably more.
Mhm. But I like the acting here from the actress who plays Jen. I did
Yeah.
like this scene. But I thought it was funny because, like, and I'm sure we talked about this, but like, totally in one ear, out the other. The fact that, I know we talked about the fact that he wears black and, it feels very coded, right? Like, Bagra always
Hmm.
wore black and Kyburn, and it, kind of obvious, but like the bad people. But
Right.
then they have her in white all the time, and I totally miss that she doesn't have a class kind of like,
She doesn't
like
have
to,
color.
yeah, to wear those colors. If we talked about that, totally forgot. So here, when she takes off the coat and Alina mentions it and she goes, yeah, I never did really like this one because it clashes with my hair. And I was like, yeah, she would look better with the blue one, but okay.
Yeah.
But you get it. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, we're right. She wasn't, but I got her hustle and I felt like so bad for her, But I liked her admitting that, she was doing what she had to do, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah,
Um,
one important thing about this actress that I
oh,
just realized
mm,
in the last week, and I feel like such a dummy because I have really enjoyed her in several things,
oh my God.
is that this is Anthony Stewart Head's daughter.
Really?
Yeah.
She's gorgeous.
Right. I was like, oh, of course. Now I see. But like,
Oh my
what?
God. Let
How
me
did I
see
miss that fact?
oh my God. That is so I did not know that he had I don't know much about his personal life except
Yeah.
this comes up a few times like on Twitter. You've seen the story, right? That there's
Right.
trans boy that
Hmm.
oh wait, I don't remember. I'm sorry, I don't remember if they transitioned to a boy or girl. I don't remember the details. It was a trans child at the time, I think, that had met um Anthony
Uh-huh.
at like a con or something like that. And anyway, they just
Right.
developed like this kind of pen pal email relationship with the child. When I say them, it was him and his wife with this
Hmm.
child. And then when they did come out and transition, they've still been really supportive. And I was like, wow, that's like the
Yeah.
most I know about him. I didn't know anything
Yes.
else about his personal life. Wow.
Yeah, it was that they had been to a con and gotten a picture, paid for a picture with him prior to transitioning. And
Mm.
then after talking, over their letters, they mentioned that they would love to have, a new picture,
Oh,
but didn't know when. And he was like, "Well, come on out to my house." And just like spent the whole day,
the
and they went
details are
like
even
riding
better.
horses.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh.
such a sweet, sweet thing.
And I'm looking, I haven't seen her in anything. Nothing I've seen. Wait, I'm still the syndicate suspects. Hmm. Yeah. I'm waiting for the Doctor Who episode to pop up. No, she's fairly young.
Yeah.
I feel like every British actor at some point when I get down to like the early parts of their filmography, there's always a Doctor Who episode in there. Um
Eventually, yeah.
okay, so oh, here I have in my notes. Mal starts talking his shit to the
Oh
Darkling.
my God. Oh my God.
He's like, I know who you is, you old bitch.
He and he's the one that picks it up first. Isn't he the first one that accuses him of being the black
Yeah,
heretic?
because you know what? I was like, when did she tell him that?
Right.
He
She
did. She
never
definitely.
does.
He picked it up on his own. Yes. I'm so glad you said that because I just thought, are we to assume, or maybe I'm forgetting a scene? Because I
No.
remember when she called him Alexander, he's like, who the fuck is Alexander? I thought that was like the extent of it. And she was like, I did some stupid things. And he's like, you don't owe me an explanation. So I thought that was the end of it. But now he knows about this. I was like, oh, maybe, we're to assume she told him. But,
I feel like ever since she called him Alexander, Mal has been like, I bet that fucker's the black
yeah.
heretic.
Yeah.
Coming up with the whole story.
Oh, and then he's like, I read your letters. I was like, you little bitch. He's
Oh my
such a
God.
drum. Oh, God.
Can you imagine being like 600 years old, sitting there reading letters between 19-year-old kids in love with each other
Yeah.
just to like mine the drama?
Oh, God. But I thought when he was like, you think, like, oh, he goes, she chose me, which I thought was interesting because I still don't feel like we've gotten any kind of like admittance to a romance
Yeah.
between Mal and Alina. So for him to phrase it that way, I thought was interesting because I thought, okay,
Hmm.
is that like that's a thing now? Okay. But when he was like, you are a child, I was like, so is she, you pervert. And I was like, you are ancient, motherfucker. Weirdo. Yeah, okay. That's all I got for this scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of memes as well about him, saying that he appreciates her for what she is. And of course, I mean, he appreciates her for what she is,
Right, right,
not
exactly.
for
Not
who
who.
she is, of course, or otherwise he wouldn't go through this. But I do love, the savagery when he says that, I'll just wait for time to kill you. That's
Mm,
pretty harsh. But I,
yes.
I do think, obviously, I'm cheering for Mal in this scene, but
Yes,
it is
yes.
great. It's great.
So forged papers and disguises, they are going to, the crows are going to bullshit their way aboard the skiff that is taking, um, the Darkling and Alina and some, um, those, ambassadors. Are those the ones, were they, the two that we were talking about in the dinner in the episodes before?
I think I think so.
Maybe,
I did
yeah.
not go back and look,
But
but
they're,
yeah.
going to, bullshit their papers to get themselves aboard. And Jasper is offended because he's like, they'll never believe I'm that old. I can't believe he used to get on my nerves. I love him so much. Um, Mal ends up escaping, and I missed this the first time I watched this. I missed his escape scene. I just know that later he tells the Darkling he escaped. So I didn't see how he escaped until today. And when he's calling the goat over and he takes something off the goat's collar, I was like, do they really have the cell keep the keys on goat collar? Like, why? What are we doing? Like, I honestly was so confused, like how this goat was gonna help him escape, and then you see him put like a bullet right in
Right. It's
the.
Jesper's goat. He put the bullet necklace around Milo
Oh my
whenever he left him in the bar, and
god!
this is Milo.
Okay, so listen, when later, and maybe this already happened, but I do remember something where um Inez is like, "Who's Milo?" He's
Yes,
like the goat. He's so like annoyed and offended that she
the
forgot.
goat.
Yes. Um. So like there was, again, I only just saw this scene today, like, and I'm high. But like when I watched it before, if I had seen it, I would have surely pieced it together before now. But even as I'm describing the scene, I'm like, why is there a goat there anyway? Like I'm thinking it can't be the same goat. It's the same goat,
It
and
is.
I forgot about the bullet. And so he uses the gunpowder in it, right? To
Right.
he hits it to pop the cuff, and I'm assuming he burns himself in the process. And the guard is sleeping, and so he escapes.
Yes.
Um, and then the Darkling again tries to smooth talk Alina, and this is what we were talking about earlier when she's like, "We could have had this for real," and I'm like, "Girl, don't say that."
Right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
like
uh,
you were really.
mm,
I think it works in making him feel terrible, but they were never, you know,
yeah,
as his own mother pointed
yep,
out,
yep, yep.
like you didn't stand a chance with
Yeah,
him.
yeah. This was so and then this is when he's like, "Try make me your villain." It's like, you little bitch. What a little bitch. And then they go into the fold, right? Like everybody gets
Right.
aboard. Mal has snuck aboard. The crows bullshit their way aboard, and into the fold we go. Um, I do love this episode. I love this. I like when they're in the
Yeah.
fold, and I like the fact that like we went in at the end of the first episode, and we go in now, like bookending
Yeah.
how we, I like that. Um,
Yeah.
so they're about 5 markers in. Wait, and how many markers is it total? Is it like 30
I think
something?
he
Or
said
no, it was more.
39 or something like
Okay,
that.
that last time, right? The when
Oh,
they
they end the episode though. with an important line from the Crows where
Mm.
they say, "No mourners, no funerals," and that's their tagline in the books. So
Oh.
big,
Oh.
big line.
I like that. Um, so there are only 5 markers in when shit hits the fan, basically, right? Like when things start
Again,
happening.
yes.
Yes. So Zoya learns that she's supposed to stop that skiff before they arrive. She's like, wait, what?
Right. She notices that the guy with her
Mm-hmm.
knows more than she does. She picks that up right away. She's like,
Yeah.
"Why do you know more than he does? Like,
Mm-hmm. And
why
he's like,
I'm
I
the
don't
one
know.
who used to sleep with Alexander."
Yeah. She's like, I don't know. All I know is I'm supposed to get you to stop this skiff when we're about so and so marker. And she's like, all right. But she's
Why?
still pushing it, right?
Yeah.
Nina, we didn't see them at all in the last episode. Nina and Matthias
Right.
find an inn, and then they start discussing like running off together, and I was like, but when we get here, like, because
Have
he's
you
like,
considered kissing first?
right, he's like, I'm gonna go back to where I come from, and she's like, not yet. We could go here, and he's like, but if I go, I can never go back. And she's like, well, there has to be a place where we could just be each other, ourselves. And I'm like, what? What? Like, how do we go from that to AWOL? Y'all ain't even fuck yet. Like, what is happening? I was like, this is the purest of pure relationships right now.
It's a lot of assumptions.
Yeah. And then they go downstairs to the inn, and they're having waffles. Right?
Right.
And
Waffles.
Matthias starts choking, and he or something, gets really weak, I guess, and he passes out, and what's his face? Ivan's husband.
Yes, Fedor. Here he is, strolls in like the
Mhm.
hero he thinks he is.
Now, why are they looking for her I mean, I know she was his, spy, but like was she like in the fold? Like Ivan was in the fold? Because I'm like, why is she so valuable that the Darkling would send them out here looking for her?
Yeah, she was one of the ones that was at the little palace, and I guess that she did direct work for him, so she's one of the top
Okay,
um,
okay,
Grisha.
got it.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, we're here to rescue you, and I'm assuming there's more other around. Otherwise, why didn't you do this? And then, she's like, but he's a good one. And he's like, the only good one is a dead one, or something like that. I don't know.
Basically.
And she reports the still passed out Matthias to the bar at large as being a slaver because there are bounties out, like 20,000 Kruger for these, and
Right.
and as long as she will testify in court against him. So they're like, yeah, we don't give a fuck about your Grisha business. You ain't taking him, Grisha's. And so she made her choice. She is staying with him, and she'll have to figure out the rest of it later. Like, how's she gonna get him out of it later?
Yeah, she did that true walk of shame out of that pub.
Yeah, that was. They were like, bitch. Like, you can feel it, like, on your neck, like the stairs.
Yes, like we came all the way out here for you.
And you over here eating waffles.
With this witch hunter.
And no, that's
The
what she.
Darkling sent us, and now we got to go back to him and tell him that his favorite girl is a traitor.
Y'all better lie and say you didn't find her.
Right.
I would not have been. I'd be
Nina
like,
who?
we need to make a pact right fucking now.
We didn't see anybody here.
We had some waffles and we came home. The trail went cold. So the Darkling creates using harnessing Alina's powers, right? He creates kind of like a light tunnel. It looks
Yes.
like through the fold, like in the direction that they're going, which begs the question: is that fold extending? Do you get what I'm
At the
saying?
end.
No, now, like, So the way I picture the fold, like,
Hmm.
it's like we talked about this, right? It runs north to south. So if you're
Hmm.
standing and you're looking at like a map of the country, right, on the
Hmm.
wall, it like it's like through the middle of the country from down, not north to south. So if I'm on the west coast and I want to cross through the fold straight through, it's like something that is, we don't know how, I guess, wide it is exactly, but
Yeah.
I get that. Okay, I get it now. So the light that he was, I guess I wasn't thinking of it in terms of width. I was thinking length
Hmm.
from north to
Yeah.
south. I wasn't sure how far it extended west to east. And so what I was thinking was like you're shooting a light forward. You get what I'm saying now towards the
Hmm.
east, but like
Hmm.
is the fold itself following, like are you pushing it out by doing that? Like I wasn't getting, but I
Sure.
get it now. They were still well within it.
Yeah.
So when uh oh, Mal is below hiding and he overhears the crows talking about like what they're gonna do, like possibly do. And
Right.
oh, sorry. What's his name?
Kaz.
Yeah, he's basically like fuck all this shit. Like we ain't doing nothing else. And uh at least not. And then that's when she finds Mal, right? Like Inej finds him and brings Mal
Right.
out, and he has overheard, and so he knows they're no friends of Kerrigan. And he tells the truth that he's aligned with Alina and he's gonna kill Kerrigan and rescue her. So Kaz very
Right.
quickly is like, give that man somebody give this man a shield.
Right.
He very quickly
Yep.
got on the okay, we can trust him board. But I guess, I mean, it makes
Yeah.
sense though. Yeah, because if he
Sure.
was with him, he wouldn't have been down there hiding.
Right. Yeah. And I think part of the thing here is that he was giving Kaz
Hmm.
was giving Inej to the other side to decide if she was going to join them in re-kidnapping Alina and
Right.
completing their plan, or was she going to let Alina go
Go.
because of her
Her.
sainthood?
Her.
So,
Yes, that's right.
but then I feel like really they weren't in there very long before Inej was like, so are we gonna kidnap this bitch or
Right.
what,
Right. Right.
and then
Yes.
here Mal shows up and they're like, and the plan's back on.
Yeah. And
You
and he goes, and Mal and Inez are like, what? Like we're gonna do what
Right.
to the Sun Summoner? So yeah, they team up. And then we learn from the conversation with Zoya and the other Grecians that's up at the top of the like I guess that's the mast. I don't know. I'm not a boat
Mhm.
person. I'm calling it the mast.
More or
Uh,
less, yeah.
okay. That she has family. That's why she volunteered for this mission because she has family in Ketterdam. Maybe no, not
Hmm.
Ketterdam. Is it Ketterdam? I know Ketterdam ends up being their final destination, but
Right. In
wherever.
Novokrovisk. Yeah.
Thank you. That's it. So she has family there, like an aunt, and she's like, I want to see her, so this is why I volunteer. And that's when I was like, oh, sis, something shitty's about to happen to you
Oh
and
my
or your
God.
aunt.
The guy, he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
he has
you have family? He's like completely
Yeah.
not cool about it. She's like, why?
And then on land, what's his name again? General who? On land.
Zlatan.
It's
Yes.
still land, you know what I mean. On the other side of the phone.
Right. On the other
Slatan?
side, it's
What's his name?
Zlatan. Yeah.
Slatan. Oh God. Oh God. I'm gonna call him Zoltan.
There you go.
I can
I think it's
remember that.
easier to say.
Yes, I can
Yeah.
remember Zoltan. So he's like his like right hand man's like, what are we gonna do when they get here? He's like, we're gonna kill all of them. He's like, wait, what? All even the Sun Summoner? She could take down the foe. And he goes, yeah, that means she's a threat to our independence. Because men just care about power. He's like, fuck getting rid of these monsters and reuniting the whole country. I want my own country to rule, and I can only claim that if we have this division. So, yeah, because men are the absolute worst. But he's dead now, right?
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that shit went far.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is they're
Yeah.
all dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so she, he's like, kill them all. And then they stop the skiff for one last presentation. And this is just where like all shit hits the fan.
Yes.
Um, he expands the fold forward, like to overcome the port that they were going to
Mm-hmm.
pull into. So Zoltan and the crowd that had gathered start running, and at one point, Alina does stop it, right? And he
Right.
pulls her back and stops her, and then it continues on. And that's when they show like the boardwalk,
Right.
thing just get demolished. And I was like, oh yeah, those people couldn't have outran that at that point because there was like nothing stopping it. So,
Right.
so while everything that we're about to talk about, all this fighting and stuff that's about to happen, while this is happening, is the foal still pushing?
Yeah, it's pushing forward across Novosibirsk, and then the Volcra are following it and eating all the people in the city.
He is the worst. Oh my god, he's so terrible. So yeah, he's doing this to be like, listen, I not only control when and if and how this bitch comes down, but I can control making more of it.
Right.
So,
And he's planning on using Alina as a bridge
mhm.
to get to all these places
Yep.
to just, drive the dark there. And then, if they don't agree to his terms, the
Mhm.
Volker are going to eat everybody.
Um so Mal is the first one. He's like, I'm going to go up there and save her. Like this is the time to do something when they're in a disarray. And um uh Kaz is like, no,
Cats.
we need to wait until we're absolutely out of the fold first. Which I was like, points were made on both sides, honestly. But
Yes.
thank God they didn't, right? So Mal goes up.
Right.
Inez, she's such a fucking badass. She takes off her jacket. She's like, I'm going to go help him. And I was like, yes, the fuck you are. So they go up first, and Mal ends up getting fucked up by Ivan. He uses his powers
Again.
again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sick of this shit. It's like, is this now? I'm like, is this where his power comes out? I'm like, is this
Right.
where we learn Mal has something? Because otherwise, how is he surviving everything?
They're crawling towards each other once again.
So Inez is kicking that guy's ass up top at the mast, and
Yes.
then he gets the drop on her and is about to kill her when Zoya uses her power to push his ass off the skiff. And he gets snatched up and dragged into the fold. Oh, that was lovely.
The choreography of this fight with the Heartrender and
Mhm.
Inej is
Mhm.
really beautiful.
It
They
is.
did a breakdown of it, of her practicing with the stunt coordinator,
Ooh.
on one of the videos, I think on the Shadow and Bone Instagram, and it's
Mhm.
it's worth watching because
Oh,
it's
that's
super
nice.
cool because she does it herself.
That you can tell. You can
Yeah.
always tell. It looks, and you know what I like about this? Like, it's shot really well for it to be in the dark. And
Yes.
so they could have easily did it where it's so dark that you can barely see anything, so you can be really lazy with the fighting and
Right.
But I never felt that in this. Like, and
Yeah.
you could also think in terms of like when you see the Volcra, like when the one is about to attack Inez, and he's on the, he lands on the ship. Like
Mhm.
that looks good, and they could have easily again shot it differently and just blamed it on the fact that they're in the fold and it's dark.
Right.
So we could,
It's
but
very
everything,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
everything here looks really good. You know what I didn't like the look of though, and I'm typically not somebody who really kind of cares or will point out like bad digital effects. But the close up of the stag when it was dying. Like I
Yeah.
jokingly was like, he's like, me? Kill me. But it looked super fake. It didn't look good. It didn't look bad when it was just like, in those shots when, they're looking at it from, across the forest, and it's, the lights behind it. Like, all of that I thought looked really good. But it was something about that it just looked bad. But no,
Yeah.
all of this stuff in the fold is really good.
Yeah.
1 second. Hold on. What? Oh, God. I'm sorry. So I got my son messaging me. I got Donnie messaging me from work. Anyway, he kills the politicians because she's
Yeah.
like, this isn't going to bring people to your cause. It's just going to make people hate Grisha more.
Right.
And then,
And he's like, well, fuck you.
yeah, like there was like, this is such a weird move. Like,
Yeah.
what she said wasn't even that bad. She wasn't even, you know what I mean? Like, she was like, dude, this is really, did you think this through? Like, she didn't say, we'll fight you with everything we have. Like, you just had her killed. It's like, God, child. So I am,
Yeah.
and then I love this when, Jesper comes up and he shoots. Now, we don't know, like, Ivan's dead, right?
By the end of this, yes.
Okay, because we never really see it. Like, he shoots him and he falls off the thing and he's like, still couldn't go for the pretty face. Still couldn't bear to,
Right.
hurt that face, something like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but we know that their clothes have the so I'm like, and they didn't show him be dragged into the, like they showed the Darkling and the other guy. So,
Yeah.
but it's most likely he's not. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a huge part of this fight throughout, where he keeps Alina from
Mm-hmm.
retaliating and all that kind of stuff for a while. But once he is thrown off the skiff, he doesn't come out of the fold. So,
Okay. And then Inej throws one of her daggers and stabs
this
the
was
Darkling.
the most badass move that she kisses the knife and
Yes.
stabs the Darkling. Like,
Mhm.
come on,
Mhm.
and hits him.
Yes, this was like this is one of my favorite parts was when the 1-2 of her and Jesper with Ivan and the Darkling here. I love this. And then he's such a petty bitch. He's like, now everybody's in the dark. He just like, fuck you, asshole.
Yeah, he only summons the dark just enough to cover the back end of the skiff.
Yeah.
So anybody on that side, including Zoya,
Yeah, he don't give a
who hasn't
shit.
done anything but blow some wind into the sails
Yep.
because she doesn't know what the fuck's going on.
Right, and doesn't want to die. Like, she doesn't know the plan is stay here.
Right, he didn't tell her.
Yeah, he died.
Yeah.
She don't want that
And
to happen to her.
Kaz
Oh my god.
has to step in and save Inej from a Volcra
Yes.
with his cane.
Yes. Badass.
So
Oh,
good.
I'm rooting for those crazy kids.
See, they do love each other.
And then Alina realizes she had the power all along.
Right.
Oh, that's basically what it was.
I mean, this is true. In the books, she does realize that the reason the stag came to her is that it chose her to have the
Mhm,
power.
mhm.
And the fact that Kiergan has his little antler nub in his hand, which is so disgusting, or
I
whatever.
know. I was like, have we talked about how gross that? It looks like a ringworm.
That oh my god, it does.
looks
It
like-
is so nasty.
It looks like he plays in muddy, like puddles. Isn't
He
that how
hasn't
you
been
get
washed
ringworm as a
in.
kid? Because that
Yes.
was always the assumption. Like I don't remember if I ever had it. I probably did, but I definitely knew kids that did. I mean, it was just like a thing. But I mean, we were playing in abandoned lots and shit. So
Right. It's in the soil, and if you run around with bare feet, then eventually
Yeah.
you get it.
yeah, but it looks like he has like a palm. But kids are dicks. So like, if somebody had ring, it's like, ew, you're a ringworm, you're dirty, and it's just like we were all dirty. We were all playing out
Yeah.
in the streets.
It's not
being
like- yes.
kids. Yes. But yeah, it just looks so. But anyway, she stabs him in the hand and sends it flying up in like a flipped coin. It was so dramatic. And he
Oh.
falls back. And when
Yep.
he says, um, what does he say? Who are you to claim such power or some shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, you are so
He's
fucking dramatic. Anybody else would have been
right.
like, fuck, this hurts.
Right. He's still
Hmm.
trying to undercut her and keep her from using her powers because he's decided that the only
Hmm.
person that gets to use her powers is him.
Yep. Hmm.
But no.
Um, and Mal ends up uh pushing them both, him and the Darkling, off the skiff,
Right.
and then Ivan uses his power on Inez, right? But and this is when he dies. This is when Jasper saves her, right?
Right. Yes.
And but she's unconscious on the deck
Yeah.
of the ship, and then Mal is fighting with the Darkling, and I like this because it was obvious, but still, again, if I see it coming, but it's still done well, like. Okay, this is so hard to do. The fact that they created like different levels of darkness, right? Like it's
Hmm.
dark. We're supposed to believe it's dark all over, but like it's lighter where they are. We understand that. But then like the deeper you go into the fold, you see it getting darker. But there are those like flashes of like like lightning in there,
Right.
and you
Hmm.
see that Volcra like briefly, like
Hmm.
and like the way it's framed, like the audience sees it first in that flash. Then you get like the over the shoulder shot from the Darkling's POV. So you see Mal's face and then you see him see it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, he about to get snatched up. It was so satisfying when it came. And I remember when I first watched it, I thought he said, he was like, because he shot him a couple of times, right? And he was like,
Right.
it's going to take more than that to kill me. And he was like, I don't need you. When I watched it the first time, I thought he said your pets will. And then
Yeah.
the subtitles, just watching it today, is your past will.
Right.
I was like, look at you,
Your
you
past will
poetic
kill you.
motherfucker.
Yes, he turned his line back on him.
Yep. Yep.
I don't have to kill you. Your past will do it for me. That their fist fight to me
Mm.
just was hilarious because I mean, the book Darkling would never, like the fact that they are punching each other is hysterical.
Because
Like
I
the
will say,
Darkling would never deign to fight Mal.
yeah, it doesn't, and I don't know. Now that you say that, it did look a little ridiculous because of the way the character had been portrayed thus far. You're absolutely right. And it's
Yep.
not even that Ben Barnes can't pull it off, but
Right.
it was it was way too debonair for this. Like there was
Yes.
nothing in here. There was nothing in the prior 7.5 episodes that said he had this in him. you
Oh
know?
no.
Yeah.
And then the actors talked about this scene afterwards, and oh my God, what is the actor's name? Archie, who
Yeah.
plays Mal,
Uh-huh.
said that they had to put that Ben Barnes asked for them to put like rubber pads under Archie's jacket because he kept not pulling his punches, that he was actually punching him.
Mm.
So they had to like pad him up so he didn't keep hurting Archie.
Oh my goodness.
This fist
God,
fight.
God, man. You can't be like, can you just not do that?
Right. Can we just not fight
Right.
for real?
Right? Jesus, all acting. Um, so yeah, he goes off and then Mal is like, what happened? He's just fine when I left her.
Yes.
And he's like, don't wake up, wake up, wake up. And there's Volker flying overhead and you feel like they're fucked. And she finally wakes up and she takes care of everything and then like pushes them, they make it through. And so
Yeah.
we're to assume like what, because like now they're in hiding, right? And nobody knows who
Hmm.
they are. So I'm assuming like there was nobody there to greet them when they finally came out. So it's like the fold wiped out that town. So that's what was interesting to me, that what's her face is like, yeah, I'm going to go see what's left. I'm like, what? Because it felt like, you know what I mean? That's why I was trying to figure out how long was it expanding? Like, so throughout this fighting, was it still expanding? Or did it stop at
Um,
some point?
it stopped. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it did just take out just, it's you're not sure. But when they came out
Right.
for sure, it was just barren, we're assuming. Because,
Yeah. Yeah. There. It's kind of like it made it like halfway through the town.
okay. Uh. Um, okay, so my question, I don't think I quite understand why she didn't take it down.
Because she's just at this point she's just burnt out and she's not able to make it like it's going to require a lot more power to take down. Like she can build a tunnel through it, but
Hmm.
she can't completely dismantle it.
Okay.
So she's going to need more power, and
So,
that's
like,
where
what
we're going to
did.
go in season two.
Okay, I was just gonna say something, but, like, what did they even. I mean, well, we know what the Darkling didn't, what he had planned was opposite of what the king thought. But it's
Right.
like, did they not get that? Like, because they made it seem like we're going to present you at this dinner and then tomorrow we're going to take down the fold. you know? Like, I thought she was ready. Like, she split the light. There was a show. There was dresses,
Right.
dinner. Like, I
Well,
thought,
they were
oh,
going to
okay.
do it. Yeah, they were going to do it together. She needs another amplifier. And
Okay. Okay.
right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I was like, okay, do it. Let's go. Because even when this, um, the trip started at one point, she says, I should just take it down now. And he goes, what makes you think I would let you, or something like that, that I was just like,
Hmm.
okay, but yeah, why isn't she taking it down? Okay, right, because he had the collar thing and all of that. I like how when
Right.
she clicks her heels 3 times, she pushes those bones down. So are they inside of her or are they gone?
They they're still in there.
Ugh,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
One
Oh.
one thing I did like about the way that she when she calls the light and they're still on the skiff, when she
Mhm.
does the hand twist,
Yes.
that's that's the Darkling's move.
Oh my God, that's
Yep.
right.
Yep.
It was so casual too.
Yeah.
The way she did it. I was like, look at you showing out. Oh, that's right.
Right.
Um, Nina tries to explain to Matthias why he has to go to prison.
Come on, Matthias. Can't you understand this? You just have to
I'm
go to
like,
prison a little bit.
she was doing such a shitty fucking job, though. I'm like,
She
sis,
was.
like, you
Right.
need to be like, listen, my people showed up and they wanted to kill you. So what you did for me, I did for you. And it wasn't ideal, but this is the best that I can do. And I'm not going
Right.
to let them kill you. You know what I can do. You know what I
Right.
have access to. Just, I'm not. He acting like an old bitch. I was like, man, you know. But it was
Right.
funny because she wasn't saying none of that. She was just like,
Yes. Unlike the Darkling, she did not practice that speech for
no,
300
none at
years.
all. I'm
So,
like, why? And like, how long has he been up? Because he was like, he'll be out for a few minutes, right? But it feels like a
right.
lot went down. Can you
A
imagine?
while. Yeah.
He was eating waffles and he wakes up in a cell. What was
On a
in the
boat.
what was in those waffles?
I feel like Fedor was just like super petty about it. So he gave him like an extra big coma or
Yeah,
something like that, you
right.
know?
Um, and then so basically at the end, everybody, the Crows and Mal and Nina and Alina, they're all on the same ship,
Hmm.
headed to Ketterdam,
Right.
right? Um,
Right.
and Nina overhears the Crows saying, because they got um Pekka and Jarizen,
Yep.
right? Those two
Hmm.
waiting for them.
Hmm.
And then, there's the the club he put up for collateral for her. They got issues waiting for them at home. And
Right.
Nina overhears them saying how they're gonna need a heart renderer that no one there knows and that is loyal to only them, and who needs work.
Right. Right.
Um, and when she overhears this, well, I'm guessing like the assumption is this is her making her introduction to them.
Yeah.
Like, you ask this question, it's a long ride, talk to them some more,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So,
Right.
but here she just asks, is it true? Because they overhear someone saying that Saint Alina is dead.
Right.
And he's like, we don't know if she's dead, but she is a saint.
Yeah. Which is all that it takes for, Inej to give him goo goo eyes again.
Mm-hmm. And then Alina and Mal are ghosts.
Yeah.
Or also survivors.
Right.
I like that. I like how it's like in the language, it also could mean this.
And Alina gives them the jewels that she was wearing in her
Oh,
hair.
that's right. As like,
So that's his plan to buy out Inej's
right,
contract.
that's right. They do have I was gonna say there was like, can he just like go back to work? Like, because he has, a bit of power there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, can he do that? But yeah, I forgot about that. So he'll at least have the money to get them off of his ass. But
Right.
he still has to deal with failing the job for Dreesen, and then
Mm-hmm.
I guess taking the job from Becca. You're gonna take it from me and then fail it too? God damn.
Yeah,
Oh.
I guess, treason is not really a thing, so
Oh, that made you think, yeah, like, what did
he's not even there,
Yeah, oh, that's right. He doesn't even live there.
Yeah.
I
So
don't have
it's a little loose, but,
and that's it, right? So like,
Mhm.
we don't know exactly what do we know what Mal and Alina's plans are?
No, we don't. They're
Just
just going to
laying
go
low.
off
Yeah.
and he tells her that she needs to recuperate, but
Right.
that they'll come back. And then, but then at the end,
What?
who comes crawling out of the
Oh, I
hole?
was like, I don't know why I thought we talked about that, and I was like, what, did I miss like an after credits?
Right.
You should have seen my face.
I left the theater and
Oh my God, I was in the parking lot.
and somebody said, "Oh my God,
Right.
Kerrigan's back."
But when he's like, follow, is that what he says?
Yeah.
And the fucking shadows are like, they look like big men. Like they like, and
Yes.
like one almost kind of look like a panther. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Right.
So is he creating like smoke soldiers, or
Yes.
but he's not expanding the fold as he goes, is he?
No,
That's
he's
not
not.
what that was
He's
happening.
just
He was just
he's
pulling.
just made
Okay.
one more
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
And he's all like torn up, and then
Yes.
he's got his nasty hand,
Yep,
and his
yep.
face is all ripped up
He
with the
is-
black scars.
He is 2 seasons away from being Voldemort.
Right.
He ain't gonna have a nose at one point. We're gonna have to go find some
That
Horcruxes.
scurvy.
I'm gonna check and see if we have feedback. I'm so curious, like, to read the books, but I just don't have time.
Yeah, well, I will say that that the first trilogy, the Shadow and Bone trilogy, is really fast.
Okay.
It was a super fast read. I blew through the first one in a couple of days, just reading a couple hours at a time, and I thought it was a much bigger book because about half of the next book is the sample chapter that it's included, in the Kindle edition.
Got it. Yeah.
And I was like, this book is so much bigger. Where's the rest of it? And I'd already read half of the next book.
Got it.
And then, then you blow through the next one and the next one. So they're very fast reads. So,
Okay.
not too stressful.
I am currently reading And there is no feedback, so I didn't get that out of the way. I am currently reading a book called The Girls of the Forest.
Mm,
And it's forgive me, I don't want to butcher the name, so I'm not even going to attempt it. But it's set in like the Joseon dynasty era of Korea, and it's a mystery about these girls who go missing on Jeju Island, and this and then a detective who's like investigating that, he goes missing as well. His daughter comes to the island, which is where they're originally from, so she has like an estranged sister there, so there's like family drama. And she goes to the island to figure out what happened to her father, but because of the times, she's walking around like pretending to be a man, while she investigates these crimes. And it's
mm,
like linked to like a mystery from her childhood, from her sister. Like there's some weird thing happened with them. And it's really, really good because I've been trying to like, branch out and support more AAPI writers. And it's really good so far. But I think it's called
great.
The Girls of the Forest. But anyway, so there was something else I had to say about a television show, and I completely forgot. What was I gonna say? Shit, 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 shit. It was either something. Hold on a minute. Let's see. Oh, never. Oh, the Nevers. That's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
So, you guys are getting like a little bonus chit chat here because I want to talk about this with somebody. So,
Hmm.
I watched we did a podcast for the first episode, and I've seen the first episode several times because yeah, I really liked it, and I think I have enjoyed this series more than like everybody else in the group. I've seen the threads. And I'm okay with that. But it makes me sad that I wasn't watching it week to week with you guys and like talking about it because
Hmm.
um I'm real curious like to hear in detail like as we go like what people's issues are. But so
Sure.
we watched the first episode and I was particularly moved by the ending. The music of the ending, the way it was shot. And I was
Hmm.
just, and of course, like what you're seeing, I'm like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? So we only
Right.
did the podcast for that. And then we got backed up as we sometimes do. And so just earlier this week, Donnie and I recorded for episodes 2 and 3. And and now these episodes I'd seen a few times as well because you think we're gonna record and then something happens and we don't,
Right.
and then I'm like, fuck, I need to watch it again. Or sometimes I put it on background while I'm doing my homework. So I'm like, if I retain enough, I won't need very detailed notes.
Right. Sure.
So I had all of these notes and we talked about it, and that podcast was like 40 minutes, and I felt so bad, and I was like, but in that podcast talking about episodes 3 and 4, excuse me, 2 and 3. I have since watched 4 and 5. I've not seen the finale, but in the podcast for 2 and 3, I like I was saying to Donnie, I'm like, it's clear that True is one of the things that's responsible for all this, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting that too. And I'm like, but that, because I was like, like how does she know how to like fight so well?
Right.
Because they're giving us like their backstory like throughout the episodes, kind of like slowly
Hmm.
revealing this stuff. And when she says things like, I woke up knowing things that I shouldn't, and um I sometimes sleep with people, men who I never want to see again. Like, so we're learning all this stuff about her. I'm like, she talks weird, like she talks like she's just not from here. And
Right.
I'm like, and then she would say things that made it seem like prudence, no, penance.
Penance. Uh-huh.
Whatever she is, penance knows, right? Like, so it
Yeah.
would be weird. And I'm like, okay. And so then I tried to pick up like how she talks to other people, and they did this thing where I was super suspicious of the Indian girl.
Yes.
Harriet, is that her name?
Harriet.
I
Mm-hmm.
was suspicious of her because remember she overhears a conversation where we finally learned definitively that there was something between True and the doctor, right? And she
Mm-hmm.
says, I'm sorry, I can't feel better about being your mistake or something. And she overheard that. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't trust her. And then there
Yeah.
was later she overheard something. So I was like, okay, so everybody, whatever's going on, like everybody is not in on it, at least of,
Right.
the touched or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I was. But then they did that reveal that there's somebody is a traitor. And I hope you guys know I'm going to be spoiling the fuck out of the episodes that I said that we've already podcast. So
Yes.
if you're done with Shadow and Bone, bye. See y'all next time.
Right.
But anyway, so you get the reveal that the one with the hands, the
Yes.
earthquake hands or whatever,
Right.
that she is the spy. And I was like, okay, that's why they were doing that, because they maybe wanted you to think that it was Harriet, right?
Right.
Because otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
there's been nothing that tells you why they were making Harriet look so shady. Okay, but
Mm-hmm.
so then there was one time when she is, I think she's talking about Mary, and she says, either I can't remember if she's referring to Mary or she refers to herself as the voice of the gallant, and she like stops, I think.
She stops herself.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I like had it in my notes, and it's funny because when we did the podcast, I specifically was like, what is that? And Tanya's like, I don't even remember that. And I'm like, what? How do you don't? I'm like, she clearly knows more about what happened to them than,
Right.
like others. There are clearly people coming to them for shelter and all that stuff that don't know what happened, but she knows something. Penance knows something. So
Yeah.
then then I thought, maybe I'm just being weird because, it was all of that. Like I'd watch it and then days would go by, So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe and this podcast was so short. I was like, God, I probably really fucked that discussion up and I'm probably way off and it's so stupid. Girl, I watched episodes 4 and 5 and like in 4, she's basically like, I'm an alien.
Right.
I was like, what is happening? So
She just comes out of nowhere and she's like, as you all know,
Right.
I'm an alien, basically. I was like,
basically,
what?
so
When did we know that?
So, like, I'm not even, I shit you not. I paused the episode. Now, Donnie hasn't seen it yet, right? So, this is episode 4.
Yeah.
I didn't give a shit. I paused it
Right.
where I was. I called him up here. I was like, listen to this conversation. And it's
Yeah.
her talking to Penance, and they're walking up the stairs, and she's like, where I'm from, right?
Yes.
And she talks about battlefields. She talks about being left here and having a mission while they
Right.
fucked off. And so there's that. And then, but really quickly, let me say, when we talked about the first episode, Donnie didn't get that the thing crashed. Because I said,
Yeah.
it looks like the thing crashed. He goes, oh, I thought it disappeared. I'm like, no, it looked like
It
it
was
crashed.
disintegrating.
And I told him, I was like, in, I don't know what it's called because I've never been there, but like, you see it in Doctor Who a lot and in Sherlock where there's the Ferris wheel and
Yes.
the water, like where
Yeah.
the aliens would come in
Right.
Doctor Who episodes. Yeah. Whatever
Yeah.
that.
Guy of London.
Thank you. So I was like, I think it crashed like in there. This is what I'm telling Donnie. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah. So when she says they fucked off, I'm like, oh, she thinks they abandoned her. She's an alien, right?
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, and they left me here as a woman. And I'm like, she's an alien. Because I was like, what? I was like, and I told Donnie, I'm like, you look at like, I know I sound crazy. I know I do. But
No, you don't. I mean,
right?
I
Like
guess
this is what
if
she's
he didn't
saying.
realize. Yeah.
Right. Like I'm like it, but it's so wild to me that she's so openly talking about it.
Yeah.
And then I think like in episode 5,
Yeah.
like she's talking to the doctor and she again, and then like by episode 4 and 5, I feel like she was basically like everybody knows except like
Yeah.
you could tell like a select few, but for the most part it felt like everybody knew.
All her friends knew.
Yeah, and she was like, something, and then she was saying Galanthe straight up, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is a Galanthe? And I was like,
Right.
I knew it. She said it before, and like, So I haven't watched the finale yet, but I am dying to
Oh my God.
because
I cannot wait until you watch the finale because I watched the first, like the first time that you watch like the first 20 minutes, it's a lot. It's like a big
oh,
info
good,
dump, but
good.
I have watched it like 3 times and like the last 2 times I just was crying.
Oh,
It's
really?
just, it's so
Oh, I'm
good. It's
excited.
so
I'm
good.
excited. Yeah. Um, and what else are we doing? Oh, Mayor of Easttown. So that still has two.
Yeah.
You're watching that, right?
No, I'm listening to the podcast though.
Oh, gave me a heart attack. Do I have another one? I think I do have one more to put out. Yeah, and then, you know what? I'm gonna do that tonight. I'm gonna put that one
Oh,
up on
good.
iTunes. It's me. It's
Yeah.
all four of us, right? That one hasn't come out yet, right?
Oh, really? No,
Yeah,
no.
it's
The
me,
last one I
John, and
heard
Ellen.
had John on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's me, John, Ellen, and Donnie this
Oh my
week. So
goodness.
yeah, I'm gonna put that one up
Oh, I
tonight.
can't
Yeah,
wait.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it was a lot of
I got
fun.
to get the oil changed in the car tomorrow, so I'll sit there and listen to that.
Awesome, awesome. I'll make sure I'll put it up tonight then.
Great.
But thank you for joining me, Sarah, for this.
This was great. I really enjoyed talking to you about this. I'm so glad we did
Me
this.
too. And like I'm down to do this whenever. So
Great.
if you see something coming up that you think would be fun to talk about, just let me know.
Cool.
Um I'm like I said, I'm just so happy to like have new fresh TV, and so every
Yes.
time I see a trailer for something, new, I'm just super super excited.
Yeah.
But we are totally doing House of the Dragon though.
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So that's just happening. That's like, I know I'm talking all new shit, and I know I was like, fuck Game of Thrones. But I'm no dummy. I mean, I'm going to be
Oh my
there.
God.
I want to
I
see
was
these
the same
fucking
way.
dragons.
The second those pictures came out of Matt Smith on the beach, I
Yes!
was like,
I was like,
fuck,
oh,
here we go again.
yes. I'm like, I
I
am
was so
so
excited.
there. Oh, we getting dragons. Oh. Yes, I'm super excited for that. We're totally podcasting that. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for listening. Me and Donnie will be back tomorrow with the Nevers, and early next week, probably all four of us again for Mayor of Easttown because like we're all obsessed with this show. We are so obsessed. Everybody wants to talk about it. Ellen was like, "You don't think four people's too much?" I was like, "Who the fuck cares? Come on."
Right. Y'all are all, everybody is experienced
Right, we're friends.
podcasters.
Yeah,
It's fine.
it was great. I think it's like 2.5 hours. You'll love it.
Awesome. Perfect.
Awesome. All right. So anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.